So, my journey actually began when I was 12 years old, and I had polio. And it was not a simple case. I had all three kinds of polio, so I was given a tracheotomy. I was in an iron lung for 3 months and was in the hospital 7. Excuse me. I think I'm nervous.
You're doing great. You're doing great, Terry.
Yeah. And so from that point on, basically, it was all about survival. Life was all about survival and how to fit in life because I no longer fit in life. So it was a really, really hard time in my life. And then I managed to live a pretty normal life, according to what anybody else would say. And then my body started losing its strength because of the post-polio syndrome. And I was, of course, in the medical field. I knew nothing about this kind of stuff or basically getting in. I was into nutrition, but not like I got into after what happened in 1986. And in 1986, I allowed the doctors to put Teflon into my left vocal cord, which had been paralyzed with the polio. Now, I was teaching guitar and singing and sometimes performing, and so that didn't work very well. Well, after saying no for about 3 years, I don't want to do the Teflon in the vocal cord because it didn't make sense to me. But I also wasn't willing to do drugs. So eventually I consented to the Teflon being put into my vocal cord. And the result of that was that every system in my body was taxed to the absolute max. And when I tried to go through the medical with the doctors to get answers, they had no clue what was going on in my body. So I eventually just left them. And one other thing was that in doing that, I felt I had to do this, even though some voice was hollering at me, don't do this. I felt I had exhausted possibilities, and that if I didn't do it, I would lose my husband's support in trying to get to the cause and the problem. And as a result, actually becoming so sick from the Teflon and not being able to function whatsoever, doing anything. And because of the polio background, realizing I could become a paraplegic. But what I came to, and I wouldn't be able to do anything for my family, and I went, but it doesn't matter, I can always love. And so that gave me a little bit of hope to just keep going. So what I know is from these experiences, and eventually, piece by piece, pulling myself to another level, I am a survivor. And every time I come across something, I have hope to move forward. And I'd have, an initial not feel good, or an initial feel good, but it would never sustain. And I did everything. I did diet, I did spiritual, I did everything. I sought everything. But I really didn't have the resources to go to a lot of outside doctors because my husband wanted out of the marriage, and so on it goes. Anyway, so Lifewave it came into my life. By then, I've done enough research and studies and everything and knew that stem cells were an answer. But there was no way that I could afford ever to do what was available for stem cell. And we did try the PMF program, which was supposed to stimulate your stem cells. And then Life Wave came along, and I went, that makes sense. I can afford that. And so I started on the patches. And within a week or two, I had two miraculous experiences. Now, my body was already so compromised in so many ways that there was a lot of work that still needed to be patched up, and I knew that. So, but this was giving me a lot of hope. And two of the major symptoms that I was dealing with was neuropathy in my legs and with COPD in my lungs. And one day I came up the stairs from the beach and my legs felt normal. And when I got up to the shower, I was so ecstatic and so feeling that miracle of that healing. And all I could do was cry. And then within another couple of weeks, I had the other miracle coming up the stairs where I didn't have trouble breathing. And again, I was ecstatic for the miracle that had occurred. And then within a week or two, everything came back. And I felt, it's like, well, can I really trust this? And yet I continued to listen to pods, and I continued to listen to testimonials. And one day this kind of voice came to me because I was asking why did I lose it? It doesn't make any sense because all these other people, when they get their miracle story, it just seems to hold. But what came to me was this is a preview. That was a preview of what you have to look forward to. And so that gave me the trust that I could trust the patches, but then I didn't really experience anything. And I went by if you go every month for every year you are, I figured, well, after 8 and maybe a little bit more months, I should be getting that real zippy. And it didn't happen. My faith was so strong in this product that there was no way I was going to be deterred. And it's been hard to sell the product because people know me and they've seen me and they're waiting for me to have this true miracle, which happened. I've been on them for a year. I'm 83 years old. I'll be 84 next month. And I needed to make sure that this was going to hold before I could really feel firm with it. And about 4 weeks ago, it's like my energy level went up. I functioned kind of like what I would consider normal, which I had not for all those years. And so it's like I had actually reached the point, even though I was on the patches, where I was basically dependent on Willie to take care of me because I couldn't do it. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have the stamina. I now have energy. I have stamina. I feel good. I still have symptoms.